just looking, I have here a Klein thermal imaging camera. And so if we're looking here, so the dock is at 110 degrees. If we look at the hull of the boat, it's at 98.6 degrees. Let's look in a few different areas. 92. So now let's go in the boat and see what the difference is with the air conditioning running. The immediate sensation when you walk on the boat is a pretty impressive difference in cool. Just sitting here, I feel extremely comfortable. I actually feel somewhat cold. I actually prefer to have the temperature a little bit higher than this. If I look around, so here looking at the dash is showing as about 75. Getting those to 72 over here on the side. And then if I look at the actual vents, the air coming out of the vent is coming out at about 44 degrees. It's coming out in the 40s. If I look at the air being fed to the unit over here, the unit's getting back air at 71 degrees. It's just that return vent you can see back over here. Then we're coming over here. Close the sliding door. So as far as unit locations, we have the 17,000 BTU located in the port side storage area. So we do take out, the starboard side storage area. We do take out that storage pretty much in its entirety. There's really nothing much to do in this area. The only thing would be periodically checking the return filter. So the unit has a filter built onto it, but the filter that's really going to be filtering is going to be the one that we were looking at earlier. It's just clipped in. You can just pull on one of the corners. This whole cover pops out. This little mesh is where the dirt gets cut up in. So you just take this out, pass some water over it, get all that dirt out, dry it out, and then you put it back in place. So it just goes back over the hole. You push it back in, and that's it. And then back in this corner, so far side under the vent seating, we have our 7 DC. So this unit is being utilized for cooling that forward cabin. So I'll show you how the vent location, how the vent is over there, but there is also located in the front. We have the unit located back over here to minimize the noise that would be in the front cabin. It's going to be very important not to block this area here. This is the return, so if there's a life jacket put in here, something put in, bunch this off, we're going to restrict the air in the unit, and we could very likely freeze it up. You'll notice that this looks different. This wasn't done by us. This is a cover. There's a gyro actually talking to it. It's a quick gyro on X5. DC powered, but they did ask us to put a lithium bank large enough to run this as well. So this boat actually has 6 250 amp hour lithium batteries. And we're looking at the floor here. So you'll see the standard masterable charger that we're typically putting in. The 2,000 watt masterable charger. The unit draws about 1,100 watts, but the rest of it's still used by the inverter. Then if we look over here, you'll notice that I typically only have 2 DC to DC chargers, whereas in this case I have 1, 2, and 3, which we added the third one just to compensate as well for the loads of the gyro. So we have 60 amps, 120 amps, 180 amps capable of going into the lithium bank when the engines are running. So we have 1 DC to DC charger hooked up to every single battery bank on 1 or starboard side engine, and the third one is connected to the house battery. There are battery switch over here for the inverter. No real reason to turn it off unless the boat's going to be in storage. The fuses are close to their corresponding DC to DC chargers. And that's about all we have to do in this area. So then we'll come up over here.
Alright, no problem.
So here, looking at the display, just talk about the information we're seeing here. In white, you see the 73. The 73 indicates that we are at 73 degrees on the boat right now. This auto says that we're in auto fan speed. Then if I touch one of the buttons, so my set temperature is set to 70 degrees. You can raise your set temperature or lower your set temperature. Then you can change your fan speed. So that'll be the lowest fan speed. You can manually lock it as well high, or like what we do, I just leave it set to automatic and let it do its thing. Then you have the mode over here, so if you push the mode, I'm not going to do it because I want to keep the AC running, but if you push on mode, you have 3 different options. Right now we're snowflake, so that means we're in cool mode. Then I have a green fan, which is fan only, and then I have a red sun, which would signify the heating mode. So all of the units installed and all the units that we carry do have reverse cycle heat as well. If you look over here in menu, you can see that my compressor's on, you can see that my pump is on. You will never see heat running because this is for electric heat, but I do have the valve that would activate in heat mode for the reversing valve. Evaporator temperature, return temperature, I'm sorry, is 73 degrees. Evaporator temperature is 32 degrees. So that's the evaporator that is transferring the cool to the air that's coming out of the vents. And then I have my cooling water, which is, or the condenser temperature, which is 104. That's the water that's circulating through the unit. As soon as this number goes above 100, is where we start running into issues. So it's just to keep in mind on this one. Then we have our temperature format. You can set it to Celsius or Fahrenheit. We'll get back out of here. Then we have the masterful control down under here. So this is for that inverter that we saw down over there. So the inverter, there's no real need to, there's not much that's happening on this control. The real thing that we're able to do is when we disconnect the power, we're able to control the inverter being on or off from this display right here. You just tap that unit button with the shore power disconnected, the display will shut off, or you can turn it on just to preserve some battery. Apart from that, if there's any error, you would want to have this set to unit readings as it is right now. So right now I'm seeing what's happening with the shore power, or I'm sorry, inverter output. Inverter's not outputting anything because we're connected to shore power. If I look up over here, I can see that I have 112 volts coming in. I'm using 18.7 volts of the 30 amp shore power that we have available between the unit, charging, and anything else going through. The gyro is on, so this is the display for the gyro underneath. And then if I have any faults, we would see them right over here. So this light would be red in the corner. If that unit's red, you want to go to unit faults, see what that fault is. Right now we have no faults, we have a green light, everything's good to go. And basically, if you want to reset this, if you do have a red light, the inverter needs to be reset to remove that red light, which signifies turning off shore power, turning the inverter off, turning it back on again, and then reconnecting shore power. That will clear any fault that's on the inverter display. Now we're going to go look at the forge unit. So here in the front cabin, we have the control for the unit located over here on the port side by the vent, just for ease of use, a nice simple location. And then we have the discharge vent. It's a 4-inch discharge vent located also in the cabin. So this vent is rotatable to put air in different locations based on demands. So if someone's sitting over in this side, you guys are sitting in the settee, or if the customer's sitting in the settee, you can pull that way, or if you want to sit in the bed, you can move it towards the bed, or if it's rotatable for customer ease of use. Another comment that I wanted to make for those of you not so familiar with the Axopar, the Brabus vessels, is running unit that we have in here, 17,000 BTU for this base, would typically be way too much. But in this case, we have all these windows all around, which are a huge heat load, as well as this complete top. It's a fabric sunroof on this boat that does still communicate with outside, so I'm still getting some air coming in. There's a lot of air losses in here. Right now my fingers are actually outside. So it is another thing to bear in mind. So it is pretty impressive that we're able to get this kind of temperature differential, this kind of cooling in a boat with all of this loss. Then looking in the, what I want to show as well is the vents for the pilot house. So we have a 4-vent configuration in this boat. The difference with this one versus the other boats is that all 4 vents are fed by the same unit. So we have this port side vent near the helm area. We have the mirror image on the starboard side, and then the same 2 vents that we do in the back. So these are all 3-inch vents. They're all rotatable. You can adjust the baffle on them. Now the only thing is, in normal operation, none of the vents can be closed off. They can be redirection, they can be moved off, but there's insufficient flow out of 3 vents for the 17,000 BTU. So please do not close any of the 4 vents up. It will cause the unit to freeze up. We need all 4 vents open to properly cool the space. But you can take them, you can move them around, you can blow them in different directions, and you can angle them to push air in a location you prefer, but like I said, please don't close them off. So here we're looking at the Victron Energy, so it's BMV 712, which is also Bluetooth compatible. So first I want to look through the functionality as you're driving the boat or as you're at the helm. So if we look over here, I've consumed, what we're looking at here is a minus 19, so I've used 19 amp hours of the 1500 amp hour battery bank that's on this vessel right now. The batteries are at 98.7%, so they've been disconnected. I just waited for the time remaining to kind of equalize. Batteries are at 98.6%. I have 7.1 hours remaining of runtime. So this is engines off, shore power has now been disconnected. So we would be able to run with, we have the gyro running right now, we have the forward air conditioner running, and we have the 17,000 BTU running. So with those 3 devices running, we have 7 hours remaining. Once again, engines off. The lithium bank is at 13.0 volts. And I'm drawing 170.2 amps. So once again, that's 2 units and the gyro as well. So I'm drawing 2.2 kilowatts. And back over here that we've consumed 22.6 amp hours out of lithium bank, so we've gone the full circle. This is also available through a Bluetooth app. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's available in the Google Play Store. It's available also in the Apple App Store. So what we're going to be searching for is going to be Victron. So we're looking for Victron Connect. So here we're looking for Shadow 900, so we can connect right here. The code is going to be, the factory code is 6 zeros, just did 7. And so I can view all the information here on the screen that we're able to view there. It's just all in front of you. I'm going to say not now. The customer can decide to change this if they so choose. Voltage, 13 volts. My draw is 171. I'm not going to do this right now. So current 172. 2.2 kilowatts. We've consumed we've consumed 26 amp hours, and I have 6 hours and 59 minutes remaining. Once again, this is engines off, shore power off. And so what we can quickly do here is I'm going to get the engine started. start charging up the batteries and see what we can get out of the engine at different RPMs. So here we're looking at the two engines. So these are two 450s. We have them both running right now at idle speed. As far as amperage, you can see that we're still pulling 172 amps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the engines a little bit. I am in throttle only mode. So I'm just going to throttle up the engines to 800 RPMs and see what we get out of the engines at that point. So I'm just going to give it a minute to get the voltage up. Let's see over here if I can. So looking here, with the engines at 800 RPMs, we've already gotten that current down to 86.4 amps, which is in turn raising my time remaining. We'll see with a little bit more if we're able to get. We'll try 900 RPMs. So as far as these speeds go, it looks like, I don't know how much higher I'd have to get more out of it. We're getting just under 100 amps between the two motors. It looks like 90 amps or 85 amps that I'm getting between the two motors right now. Which once again is raising the time remaining to, we're now over 12 hours of runtime. We should be getting about, this will probably equalize up a little bit higher. Although now one of the chargers just kicked out because I'm up to 102 amps. So it'll do that from time to time. Don't panic. This is just the DC-DC charger figuring out what it can take from the batteries without depleting the existing battery. Because that way we'll never run into a situation where the lithium bank will deplete the service bank or one of the engine banks, because those are the most important banks, and so that's how the system is designed to take priority over all the rest of them. So I'm curious to see where we go from here. It's now showing that I'm drawing 83 amps from the battery. Let's raise my time remaining to 12 hours and 54 minutes, which is just going to take some time for it to think and figure out. But just showing a little bit of how the system works. If we go faster, I believe we can get more out of the system and get more juice into it, to the point that when running the boat, I should be able to not cover all the loads, but cover a large majority of them and give significant runtime versus engines off. But you can see that when I had everything off, I was getting about 7 hours with everything running and nothing connected to the boat. And that's running 2 air conditioners, keeping this boat in a climate of about 85 degrees outside right now. I have this boat down to 73 degrees. I'm running a gyro, and I'm running another air conditioner forward. So that's 3 fairly large draws on these boats, and I'm able to give 7 hours with nothing. Or what we're seeing here with the engines at 900 RPMs is, let's see, equalize to here. Or about 12-13 hours with the engines running. Then the last thing that we're going to go through is going to be the pump setup. So it's very important when we're starting these systems. One thing that we always have to look for is going to be water flow. So that's what we're going to look at now. So when we're starting the systems, a very important thing to do is to make sure that the unit is, or that the pump is pumping water. If you don't have water going through the unit will not work properly, and the unit will shut down on faults. So we're going to come over here to the back on the starboard side and look at this discharge through hole over here. So whenever the pilot house unit is running, the 17,000 B2 is running, there should be water coming out of this through hole, and it should be coming out at that level. If you happen to look here, boat's in the water, started up, and there's no water coming out of this hole here, what we're going to want to do is open up this aft section. I already have it open here, and then we may need to bleed the system. So what I'm going to do is open this up and show you guys what the process of that is and what other maintenance needs to happen in this back compartment as well. Over here we're looking at the pump setup. So we have our intake valve right over here. This should be in the open position. Open position is in line with the hose. You can turn it sideways to close it off. That'll be only when you're cleaning the strainer. We have our strainer right over here. Half-inch strainer. We have our pump. And then right after the pump, I have this bleeding valve. So this little bleeding valve, if you're looking, you feel the pump, you touch the pump is running, but there's no water coming out of the side. First, make sure that this valve is in the open position. And then the second thing would be just open this valve up. You'll see this start burping out some air. Once it's coming out with this stream of water out of here, then you know that you've bled all the air out of the pump, and the pump should resume normal operation. You also want to make sure that this strainer is clean. So all you need to do is close this valve here. You unscrew this bottom basket, remove it. There's a seal, there's an internal basket in here. You want to clean all of this out, but obviously being very careful not to lose this seal or lose the basket. So just to show the location of where this pump is, where the setup is, it's going to be, I'm in the aft cockpit of the 37. So as soon as you open up this aft hatch, directly underneath this this plastic rubber material, you just peel this back, and then you have direct access to the strainer and pump setup, which we have a mirror image of over on the port side of the vessel as well. So now we're over on the port side of the vessel. We have the secondary through hole over here. So this discharge through hole is for the 7,000 BTU. This is for the DC unit for the forward cabin. So whenever you're running the unit for the forward cabin, just make sure that there's water flow over here on this side. As we're seeing here, and once again, if you don't see water coming out, it could be a clogged intake, it could be a dirty strainer, it could be an airlock in the pump, or it could be the pump not functioning properly. So those are all things. The first thing to check is open up the back compartment over here. That would be the port side. Mirror image of the one that we just looked at. Open it up, make sure the pump is running. If the pump is running, try and purge it. If you're trying to purge and no water's coming out, then that would mean that the intake is clogged or maybe a dirty strainer. So those are just the things that we're looking for. Thanks for watching.